we just had a question from the audience that I answered, but I'd like to get your take on it. It said, because we're here talking about debt. You know, President Trump said on Tuesday we should wipe out the debt, which would be a huge blow to these hedge funds and a huge boon to Puerto Rico. The question was, why do we care about bankruptcy? This is about people. So explain the connection.
Well, look. Right now, the Congress of the United States has imposed on the people of Puerto Rico what we call in Puerto Rico, La Junta, right? And what's that? That's a control board. It's got 7 members, 4 Republicans, 3 Democrats. Most of the members of the control board are part of the financial services industry that created the crisis and benefited and enriched themselves. And now they're going to tell us how to resolve the crisis. In other words, the governor of Puerto Rico, the legislature in Puerto Rico, they're not in charge. The federal government said, Puerto Rico, you're a colony of the United States. We are going to take up the sovereignty of the people of Puerto Rico. We're going to impose. Look, if you eliminate the debt, as Donald Trump says, you don't need a control board, and therefore you don't have to make decisions anymore between paying the bondholders, and many of them are unscrupulous members of Wall Street hedge funds. They bought the bonds not for $1 value, but for 10, 15 cents, but now want $1 for what they paid 15 cents. Guess what? You don't have to eliminate school teachers. You don't have to eliminate doctors. You don't have to eliminate care for the elderly, because that's what's happening. Police officers, they're not out there doing public safety because all of those things have to be restricted or constricted in order to pay the debt. So, hey, Donald Trump, you want to take care of that one? Hallelujah, I'm with you. And for those that are always concerned about how much this is going to cost, let me just tell you, the diaspora, the Puerto Rican diaspora, you have aunts and uncles ready to take in their nephews and nieces. You have moms and dads ready to take in their children. You have grandparents ready to take in their grandchildren. So this is about a community effort. We have the possibility here.
Now, there's currently a federal judge who would have the authority to write it all the way down to 100%. If I'm understanding this correct.
She's there negotiating, right? You know what? I'm gonna be a little political here. It's kind of good to have a African American woman appointed by a Democrat that lives in New York, because at least maybe we're gonna get a fair shot. She still in the end is a bankruptcy judge, but it's kind of good to have those 3 things historically working in our favor. Yeah, she can do a lot, and she should do a lot, and she should take into consideration, right now, there are things that the government of Puerto Rico can't ask for because we have cost sharing.
Give us an example.
So if you want to rebuild your school system, they might say, yeah, but you got to pay 15%. You got to pay 20%. Think of this. So let's say we make a claim, and we say, well, it's going to cost us $4 billion. It's going to cost us $4 billion to rebuild the schools. Federal government says, yeah, but you got a co-payment. It's like when you go to the doctor, first thing, before you get to see the doctor, I don't know how it is for you, I know how it is for me. They say, you know what, it's $30 per visit. So you got to give them the $30 before you get the medical care. Same way it works for rebuilding. There's a co-payment. Let's say I'm bankrupt. I don't have any money. The doctor says, I don't see you because you can't meet the co-payment. That we have to eliminate these co-payments. So how do you pay co-payments if you don't have enough money to pay the interest on the $72 billion? So what we have to do is restructure. I think this is a wonderful time to look at a complete restructuring, not only of our debt, but of our energy grid in Puerto Rico. Why are we leaving such a huge carbon footprint in Puerto Rico? You would think tropical island, minimal footprint, right? No, huge footprint. You pay 3 times as much for energy in Puerto Rico than you do in Chicago. And there's a reason for that, because it's all oil, right? Instead of looking at solar energy and wind energy, for those of your viewers that have visited my beautiful island of Puerto Rico, you know that the breeze always enters from the east to the west coast 365 days. Why aren't we capturing that? Why aren't the sun? 90% of the days are sunny. Why aren't we capturing that and using that? So this is the time to build a modern, efficient, and leaving the least footprint possible on a tropical island.
Is there a chance that that's what gets rebuilt out of?
There is a chance. There is the opportunity, and we have to make that the opportunity. Hi, look, the Puerto Rican community. Gracias. You know, it's always interesting because people come here and they don't come with a lot of hats from their states, right? To say like, some do, but Puerto Ricans show up here, they got a Puerto Rican flag. Some of them never been to the island of Puerto Rico, but they feel an affinity, right? They feel that that's part of their diaspora, that's part of who they are. And so, I'm sorry, I digress, but it's such a beautiful thing to see the kind of...
Are you seeing any efforts by people trying to capitalize on the disaster?
Oh, my God. Okay, let me just say this. You have men and women of commerce and industry saying, oh, Luis, don't talk about resettlement. Don't talk about people leaving the island. We need them here to rebuild the island. But there are a series and lineup of jets, private jets, with their kids and their spouses and their grandparents leaving the island. So there's that one segment. That may not be a direct exploitation of the situation, but it's a contradiction and a kind of hypocrisy that occurs. Stay, rebuild. Well, we get our loved ones the hell out of Dodge. Number one, look, don't you think that we knew from Katrina, we learned from Katrina, there are unscrupulous people out there getting local mayors, municipality, and the government to sign contracts, which later on the federal government will not honor, and the debt will stay with the local municipalities. Oh, there are vultures down there like trying to pick at the carcasses of the government that remains to say, we're going to be here. The federal government should go down there. We have the possibility. Today, thank you for covering our press conference. Look, 90% of New Orleans was relocated. I'm not saying 90% of Puerto Rico, but if you don't have water and you don't have electricity, and I'm handing you food and I'm handing you water, and you said, I'm not feeling well and I don't have a doctor, shouldn't I offer you the opportunity to leave? And I just tell the members of the press, please, personalize this. Think for one moment it was your dad, your sister, your nephew, your grandchild. What would you do to get them off the island of Puerto Rico, irrespective of what the government might be saying?
What's the vegetation like? Is it denuded in places?
My. So you will see green of the grass. But I hope you would take a picture before you leave of all of these trees and imagine them barren, right? But of course it's summertime. It's the two colors. The green now of Puerto Rico, which is the predominant color is gray and brown because trees were wiped out. I've seen residential areas that have lost 80% of the trees. It is going to take a huge rebuilding of that island in terms of trees and forests and vegetation. It's like it's crying. It says, I'm hurt and I need somebody to come and give me some help. What's the safe place on the island of Puerto Rico if 90% of the people 15 days into this don't have electricity? And remember, a lot of the water that isn't being distributed is because the pumps aren't working to push the water into the people's homes. So we need the grid up. Our hospitals, well, you heard Congressman Spayat, where we were there on Saturday, a hospital collapsed, literally collapsed. When was the last time you remember in your city a hospital actually collapsing and everybody having to be taken out of that hospital and sent to other hospitals, which are already themselves overwhelmed? That's the situation. So our point of view is...
Mountains?
No, that was actually in San Juan where we saw that. In the mountains, there are no hospitals.
What did you see in the mountains?
Here's what I saw. I saw a town that had 6 ways in and out. 5 of them disappeared. The roads are not there. The bridges are not there. And I saw people trapped. People tend to think of my beautiful island and they see the films and everything. They think of the coast. They think of the beaches. They think of the ocean. They think of the hotels. And 2/3 of the island. Everyone that's watching this program should just go to Google Maps and see the topography of Puerto Rico. It is mountainous, and that is where the most devastating effect of the water occurred. Because not only did it bring huge water as the hurricane came over, as the eye of the hurricane came over, it came right over the center of the island, and it stood there for a while, and it rained. And then it rained on Thursday, and it rained on Friday, and it rained on, you know, ladies, you know, there's no Noah's Ark for people to get on, right? And so the water came down the mountains, and it literally just washed towns away and their homes away. And now people are shoveling, right, the dirt and the debris, but with no water and no disinfectant, and it's really a bad situation. And those that need to get out, if they want to get out, shouldn't they be given the opportunity to come to the mainland United States? I'm happy some colleagues of mine are going down there this weekend, and I told them, don't let them hoodwink you and take you to San Juan and take you to pleasant places. Tell them, take you into the mountains. 2/3 of the people live in the mountains of Puerto Rico. Find the people that are incomunicado. Go to them, see if there's water, see if there's electricity, see if there's doctors and medical attention. And if you don't see it, then ask the question, shouldn't we put them in a safe place now? Thank you.